Bitcoin just flashed a sell signal as part of the Supertrend. And in this video, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about what this means. And we're also going to go over some really important information, such as some executive orders that were signed and some information regarding miners' reserves and the Bitcoin returns for the month of August and September. So we have Bitcoin here now at a sell on the daily. So what this means is that most likely over the next couple of weeks, we're going to wind up seeing the Bitcoin price move lower. Now, last time we saw this happen and the sell signal triggered here back in June, we talked about this several times. The fact is, Bitcoin went from about 101 up to about 110, but then came all the way back down to about 98,000 or so. So we did actually see Bitcoin move up kind of like it's doing right now, and that was followed by a larger fall going below 100K. So I do think it's entirely possible we'll wind up seeing something similar to that, not exactly the same, but something similar to that within the next couple of weeks, because the super trend is right more often than it is wrong. So what this would look like would probably wind up being another move below 100K. It's possible, in fact, we get here to the support level of about 105. I think that's actually pretty possible over the next couple of weeks. But usually when we see this sell signal, that will correspond to Bitcoin dropping lower, even if initially it goes up a little bit, which is what we saw last time this happened. Next, I want to go ahead and talk about the liquidation heat map. So again, we still have this very, very large amount of liquidity sitting here at about 120K or so, or just at about 119. And in that area, there's several $100 million worth of short liquidity that's sitting there. In fact, there's another little band of liquidity sitting here at about 119. Any sort of bullish momentum and all this immediately gets taken out. So if Bitcoin can climb back up to that 119 level, we'll see these shorts get liquidated and then most likely make another all-time high. So that's the other side of the argument here. It's entirely possible that we can also get potentially a short squeeze, at least in the near term. All right, and we're also going to talk about your Bitcoin options. Options for this upcoming Friday expiry on the 15th of August. Over about 3 billion or so of value of these options set to expire on Friday. Put to call ratio 0.68, so not overly bearish, but not very bullish either. And we have the max pain price sitting at about 116K, basically where Bitcoin is right now. So traders expect towards the end of the week that we're going to wind up seeing mostly the same Bitcoin price. And this really has not moved that much. If we go ahead and take a look at the larger expiry on the 29th of August, we can see here that the max pain price barely moves at all. It's about 115K. That's usually the area that Bitcoin likes to gravitate towards, this max pain price. So by the end of the month, again, traders are not betting on having much price action, volatility either direction. But usually when you have these expiries, especially with about $10 billion worth on the 29th, you do get more volatility than average. So this is not all necessarily going to be bearish for me on this video, because we do have really important information to discuss, some new news here to talk about, and that is the fact that Trump has now opened the door for crypto and private equity in the 401k retirement plan. Now this is huge because this actually continues the march towards adoption that we've expected to see over the past couple of years, and now this kind of opens the door to allowing investors to use their 401k funds to buy Bitcoin and alternative investments. Now, it still would require a bill being passed. You have some laws that need to be put into place in order for this to actually happen, but this is basically like the first step towards that. And the reason why this is really important is because we've seen already with what happened with the Bitcoin spot ETFs already, and that is that they've injected billions of dollars of liquidity into the Bitcoin ecosystem. Now imagine being able to tap into that massive a total addressable market of 401ks, and now you start to see the kind of use case, and now you start to see the scenario in which Bitcoin reaches the next leg higher. That would be for 401k adoption, and especially if we can actually get the larger Federal Reserve and other banks like that to actually go in and buy Bitcoin as well. That would be another potential catalyst for a move higher. So this is really important news. This is right here is potentially as important as having those Bitcoin spot ETFs in the first place. If there's more information, I will definitely let you guys know. If this story develops, I will definitely make a video on it. So please subscribe in order to see that. The other thing is, we talk about the Bitcoin spot ETFs. We switched back into the green here for the net flows. So we'd actually go from outflows to inflows, but it's still under where it was earlier in July, with the total net assets at about 152 billion. Now it's only at about 150 billion or so. So it's actually pulled back a little bit on that. If we take a look at the latest changes in treasury holdings around the world when it comes to public and private entities, what's interesting about this is that you had the BTC, the Grayscale Bitcoin Mini Trust, added 5,300 Bitcoin. Now, this was back on August 4th, so it's still fairly recent, but this is one of the largest transactions that we've seen for Bitcoin when it comes to public or private entities reporting their Bitcoin additions. So this is actually really interesting. And if you sort by date here, you can go ahead and see that there's many transactions that have occurred between just on the day of 8th of August. And there's been significant Bitcoin additions, including 1,000 Bitcoin added on the 6th of August. So we continue to see more and more adoption. Looking at the Bitcoin miners reserve here, we can see, and this is the number of Bitcoin in miners' collective wallets. This is kind of balanced out. It's moving sideways, which is what you want to see, because if the amount of Bitcoin in their wallets decrease, that means that they're selling Bitcoin and driving the price lower. But it has mostly moved sideways since the beginning of the year. Not much to report on this, though I do think this is rather bullish. And then finally, the spent output profit ratio, giving you an idea of how profitable all holders of Bitcoin are right now, and this is actually positive 1.01, which means that generally speaking, Bitcoin holders are in a profit currently. So that's also pretty bullish, I think. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the Bitcoin returns for the month of August and September. So August and September collectively are usually some of the worst months for Bitcoin. You can see here that for August you have an average return of only 1.67% and a median of -7% return for August. Now, September, usually the worst month for Bitcoin, at a -3.77 average and a -4.35 median return for September. Just prepare yourselves. We're probably going to see the same kind of seasonality, even though over the last couple of years we did see green Septembers. We're kind of due for another red September, and September is usually the worst month for Bitcoin. But on the other side of that, October is usually one of the best months for Bitcoin, so that's something to watch out for, something to keep in mind. September and October most likely will wind up being more of a slog. All right, so let me know what you guys think. Are you buying? Are you selling? Do you think Bitcoin can go up to that $120,000 level and finally liquidate a lot of these shorts that have been sitting out over here? Or do you think that the super trend indicator is going to be proven right yet again, and we're going to actually move back into this area of support that I've outlined, maybe below 100K? Leave your comments below. Follow me on X and on Threads. Give me a like. I always appreciate that. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.